All right. I will start recording. We are now live.
I got a backup running too, just in case.
Sounds good. I'm going to post the Twitter announcement. Then we will start. It was a big moment for me when I learned how to trim down YouTube videos after live streaming. So I trimmed all the videos down to when we actually start and cut out the first couple minutes of bullshit.
Right.
So like everything we're saying right now I can cut out, and it's like it was a big
Right.
moment for me figuring out, because like I mean I've used Adobe Premiere like a million times in like video production classes in school, but
Mhm.
the YouTube like editing stuff is just pretty ass.
Yeah, like I could do stuff on my phone, and if it
Literally,
involves like iMovie, and that's pretty
literally.
much the extent of it.
I can like iMovie runs better than YouTube editing in all seriousness,
Really? Right. Yeah, like
because like
that's
iMovie is just
pretty
so
much what I use it
simple.
for.
iMovie's so simple. It's like this does this and this does this. But like it took me like I had to like look up a video on how to crop videos on YouTube like in the editing, because it's like you have to like click a certain thing and then like do a certain it's stupid. But
Right.
all right, let's post this and get going. Let's try to limit sidebars just because it's already 11 o'clock, but
Cool.
obviously we'll hit everything.
Works for
All
me.
right.
Yeah, as long as you guys need.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you again for coming on before we start. We
No, yeah,
appreciate it.
thanks for waiting, guys. It was tough with the overtime and the shootout
No
tonight, so I
worries.
appreciate it.
You gotta make your bag. I respect it. All right. If you want to go retweet the thing I just tweeted on the PHP account, that'd be good.
Cool.
Just so people can see. All right. Everybody ready? Yeah. All right. You're muted, so I assume so. All right. Let me count us down. In 5, in 4, in 3. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pizzas Here podcast, your home for all news and content surrounding the Washington Capitals of the NHL. It's been a jam-packed past week of Caps hockey, so we've got a good amount to talk about. But today we're joined by another special guest, Andrew Gillis, a writer for NBC Sports Washington. Andrew, how's it going, man?
It's going well. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate you staying on so late at night.
Yeah, no worries. We're all college students, so we're used to it, but happy to have you on today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, my first question for you is what's your life like as a writer, covering Capitals content for NBC Sports Washington? And how'd you get to where you are today?
Yeah, it's a very busy life. The because I also do Wizards games too. I also do Wizards coverage as well. So, I'm covering sometimes 5 6 games a week at Capital One Arena. So I pretty much have a second home there underneath of it all in the media room. So it's a pretty busy life. Especially now as we're obviously in the second half of March. We've got 5 weeks or so until the playoffs begin. So like now is really kind of when you have to start to ramp up. You have to start to really look at trade deadline stuff. You're looking at how the team has played over the last couple of weeks, couple of months. You're starting to kind of look at the schedule and say, okay, who do they have left? Who's going to be a playoff opponent? There's a lot going on. So it's pretty busy. I don't. There's a reason we're doing this at 11 o'clock at night. But I started with NBC in 2019. I did Ravens and Orioles coverage. So I did that for about a year and a half, and moved over during I guess during the end of the first year of the pandemic in February 2021. So it's been a little over a year for me now covering the Caps, and it's a blast. Honestly, I really love it.
I can imagine it's definitely got to be fun to get paid and, stuff like that to do work for a team that you like.
Yeah, well, so I grew up in the area, grew up in Loudoun County in Northern Virginia. So, I went to games all the time as a kid. I remember when Ovechkin got drafted. I think I was like 8 or 9 when he got drafted. Like I was young. So I've kind of been following the team really my whole life. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I bet. However, I don't think being a writer for the Wizards has to be much fun.
It has its perks. The players are certainly interesting. There's this year has certainly been interesting for the Wizards. And Wizards games are really fun too. I really do enjoy Wizards games as well.
Have you had any memorable interactions with Caps players in your career so far? What's up, Will?
Oh, hey, look, Will made
Our
it.
fourth member, Will, has just joined. What's up, Will? We're on the second question. Go ahead, Jake.
You're muted, Will.
Yeah, sorry. How many what's your favorite Caps player interaction that you've had in your career so far?
Yeah, that's a tough one to wrangle with because with COVID restrictions and everything like that, so when I first started, I did everything was over Zoom, and everything was over Zoom from February 21 through the end of the playoff series against Boston. So I didn't really get to, meet anybody in person until this year. But, I've had a couple cool interactions. I've had a couple good conversations with like a Garnet Hathaway one-on-one to the side. Like I mentioned, I grew up kind of watching the team. So, I just did a story a couple weeks ago, and, I interviewed Matt Hendricks. And I really, really liked Matt Hendricks when he was here in Washington. So, it was just kind of cool to interview a guy like that, a guy that, you grew up watching, you kind of remember from, the Boudreaux era and the Dale Hunter era. So that was cool. And I really, really liked that. Talked to Carl Alsner on the phone too. So, it's funny that, obviously everybody says, interviewing Ovechkin's really cool, interviewing Backstrom because that's really fun. But, it was cool interviewing some of the guys that, I kind of remembered when I was a little bit younger. So that was probably the thing that stands in my mind most.
Like, we asked that question a couple of times. A lot of people say Carl Alsner's a good one, but
he's a good dude, man.
He just responded to my DM this week. Look out for him coming on, hopefully, in the future. That'd be awesome.
He's just a genuinely good dude.
I need to delete all my tweets. I definitely talked shit about Carl Alsner at one point. But yeah, obviously, you've written tons of articles over the years, so it's maybe hard to pick a few down. But are there any of yours that have been your favorites, or your favorite topics to write about? I mean, obviously the Capitals, but like any like specific time of year you like to write about or stuff like that?
I kind of mentioned the Backstrom story. I wrote about him a couple of weeks ago after his 1,000th point. So that was nice. I always like kind of doing longer stuff. You can kind of talk about it. But some of the topics that I really like, I'm really into like advanced stats, and like I hound natural stat trick every day. I love writing about
Anthony Mantha, Analytics King.
Exactly. I love writing about, some of the numbers just, cause like I mentioned, I remember being a fan of this team when I was 13 years old, and, they lose to the Canadians in the first round of the playoffs. And, everybody says, oh, they can't win games 6-4 in the playoffs. And I just kind of remember thinking like, yes, you can. Like if you have one goal and you win, or if you have 9 and you win, you still win. And that kind of really planted the seeds for me. And I've really kind of always followed advanced analytics since then, just because I think they're unique. And I think that, it's an area that is still kind of untapped in hockey fandom and hockey media. And I really, really like it, kind of just incorporating, maybe not specific articles about, Evgeny Kuznetsov's zone starts or whatever like that, but just kind of sprinkling it in here and there throughout various articles. I really kind of like to do that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's a groundbreaking strategy. Hey, if you score more goals than the other guys, no matter what the score is, you always win. Like, you're not wrong. I remember, what was it, game 2 when Backstrom scored his hat trick? That was like 6-5. The Capitals won in overtime. That was just like everybody just shot the puck on net and said it's going in.
Right, like series. The Capitals scored, I think it was 314 goals in 2009, 2010,
right.
And they lost in Game 7 against a goalie who played, maybe the best 2-week stretch of hockey this side of J.S. Jaguar in the Stanley Cup final, and everybody told them that they were playing hockey the wrong way. And I just kind of remember, like, part of it was ignorance because, you know, you're 13 years old and you're still a fan of the team, but you're just like, you know, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I've just kind of always looked at it from that type of perspective, if that makes any kind of sense.
No, yeah, we got you. All right, well, you're up. Unmute your mic. Hold on. His mic is muted. This isn't Star Trek Enterprise. You can't touch the side and turn on your mic. You gotta like Yeah, Will joined in the middle of this, and for people at home, our script didn't have him in it because we thought he was gonna make it, but he surprised us and made it. We're very happy to have him, but we have to have questions on the fly, so we'll see what he comes up with. I'm very excited to hear this question, Will. We still can't hear you. Yeah, we can't hear you either.
Motherfucker. All right. So we don't need to keep repeating that we can't hear Will. We'll acknowledge Will once we can hear him. We'll just keep trying to talk, and then when we can hear you, we'll say something. But we'll let you ask something once we can hear you. So next, Andrew, how are you expecting the Caps to do this season, you know, before the year started? And does that match up with how they've performed so far? Are you impressed? Have they exceeded your expectations, or were you expecting us to be in this position, or what were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you had said in September, October, and you would kind of come to me and said, what are your expectations? I would have said, okay, you know, they're probably going to be about a 100-point team. They're going to be in the thick of the Metro race. You know, it's probably going to be Carolina's going to be up there. Pittsburgh's going to be up there. The Rangers have kind of surprised me, but I kind of expected the Caps to be right there. I think so in that regard, they haven't really, you know, that's kind of what I expected. I think the way that they've exceeded expectations is if you look at the way that their year has gone. I mean, if you would have told me, you know, like I mentioned before the year started, if Nicholas Backstrom isn't going to play till basically Christmas, and TJ Oshie is going to play in 28 games by the time the deadline rolls around, and Anthony Mantha is going to, I would have been like, oh, they're screwed. Like, oh, their season's toast. Like, they're in deep trouble. And you know, they've just kind of found a way to, you know, they played really well early. They got a lot of young contributions. So that really surprised me. So it's weird. They've got to where I expected them to be, but in a pretty roundabout way.
Anthony Mantha fixed all the problems. I was
Can you guys hear me now?
There we go. Will,
okay, cool.
But like, hold on. I wanna respond to him. But I mean, you know, we've been asking people that same question like throughout the year, and you know, obviously more towards the beginning of the year when we were really heavy with having, you know, rookies and Hershey Bears guys in our lineup, you know, changing lines every single night. You know, the fact that we were doing so well with so many new guys in the lineup in so many different spots every single night was insanely impressive. And obviously we dipped off a little bit over the past month. And obviously now we're back up shooting to the moon over the past, you know, like 8 or 9 games. So that's obviously great. But I'm thinking we're going to dip down at least one more time. But hopefully if that happens, we can shoot back up in the right time right before playoffs. But it is definitely nice to see that we're still in the race, even though we played like absolute dog water for the last month. So it's nice to see us bounce back.
Yeah, it's I mean, you kind of said it. You had, I mean, Alexei Protas come up and play well. You know, Hendrix Lapierre played well early on in the year. You just got contributions from guys that I don't think everybody expected to. And, you know, somebody that I really think has come, and I don't want to limit it just to the beginning of the year. I mean, over the last couple of games, and I'm sure you guys have been watching, I think Connor McMichael's been excellent over the last, you know, couple of games, couple of weeks. I think he's still got to get bigger. But you know, I think he's still 21. He's grown up against grown men. But you just look at some of the guys that have played, you know, legitimate minutes for this team this year, and it's hard not to be impressed.
Definitely.
It's a shame that he couldn't get one to go for a while. I mean, he got that lucky goal against Columbus, but he had like a stretch where he was just having chance after chance and just couldn't bury one. I was going to ask, since you were mentioning analytics, There's a player who, I mean, like a lot of Caps fans, if you were to ask the general audience, would say Martin Ferravari has been really, really good for us this year. The analytics would not agree with that. So I was wondering what your take on Ferravari's performance would be, given that the analytics don't like him, but he is playing top line minutes with Carlson. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good question, because if you look at the numbers of kind of how he's played, I guess maybe since January, February, they're not the best, and I think there's two mitigating factors with that. One, I think it's natural for a young guy like that to hit the rookie wall. I mean, it's a hard game to play in the NHL, and he didn't get the Connor McMichael treatment. He didn't get the Axel Janssen-Fialbi treatment where it was, okay, you're going to be in the lineup for a couple of games and out of the lineup, and you're going to be able to kind of come along a little bit slower. Like, he pretty much from the jump, the fit was there with John Carlson, and he immediately got top line minutes. So, I think it's a little bit of that. I think it's a little bit of the rookie wall that I kind of mentioned, but I also think it's hard when you are a young player like that to kind of go up against another team's top line. And that's what he does in a lot of situations when, you have a guy like John Carlson. I mean, you're not going to get sheltered in that role. So when you're 21 years old, they've kind of talked about it all year that they don't really view him as a 21-year-old. They don't really view him as a rookie. So, I think with Ferravari, I think the numbers, I think this is one of those cases where, maybe the analytics are a little bit misleading, because I think he has been a little bit better than what that would show, just kind of judging by the quality of competition and things like that. But he's going to be good for a really long time. I think the Capitals have something really, really good with him.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh, do you have a personal favorite goal in Ovechkin's career so far? I know there's a lot when he scored 769 today. So
yeah,
769. You got a favorite?
Bro, nice.
I think the favorite for me would be the goal he scored against Montreal, and I believe that was
It's like
every single guest. Pushing
So
my agenda.
Wait, there are two candidates. Which one?
Well, it's the goal against the Coyotes or the goal against the Canadians, right?
Yeah, it's those two easily. Those are the two best.
So,
one
but
day
then
someone
Will
pick
says
the
you gotta put
Devils
the
goal,
Devils one into
bro.
it.
The
Devils
Devils
goal.
Devils is
drag
probably
was
3. Devils is 3 for
disgusting.
me.
That was
Delicious.
disgusting.
Well, so maybe the reason that the Canadians goal stands out, I was actually there when he scored that goal. I was in the arena. I was at Verizon Center, so I was sitting where they shoot in I guess that would be the second period, and so I think it was the first period, and I couldn't really see, but you just saw him play it off the wall. The whole arena went, stood up, and as soon as he scored, he comes back to the bench and. He does one of these to the camera, and he's on the jump. It was just a really cool goal, and it's kind of one of those goals where you're gonna remember it. If I had to give another one, just for the sake of giving another one, he scored one Game 5 against the Rangers in 2009.
I know what you're talking
where
about.
I think he put him up 4-0, I believe, and he entered the offensive zone, stepped around a defender, pulled it back, cut back to his backhand, and then kind of just like falling down, backhanded it into the net. Just an unreal goal. Like, there's so many, but I think that the Canadians one stands out. But I really think that Game 5 one against the Rangers is honestly right there.
Yeah, I remember that goal. That was really sick. That's a really cool goal. Well, I guess we're talking about the Rangers. Let's speak about this. The Metro has kind of been pretty wild tonight. There was a really big matchup between the Capitals and Hurricanes, but the Hurricanes currently are on top. The Penguins and Rangers are switching places every 5 days, and then the Capitals are sort of the 4 spot right now, but they're coming in pretty hot because of their March. Like, they have 15 of 16 possible points this month so far. Where do you see the Metro shaking up as the season ends? Like, do you see it staying the same? Do you see someone hopping another? Do you see like somebody else taking the division besides Carolina? Like, what's your call?
Yeah, I think it's Carolina. I mean, like, you don't want to go hot take for the sake of hot take. I think Carolina is going to win the division. I mean, Carolina, like, I know we're talking, maybe an hour or two just after the Capitals just beat the Carolina Hurricanes and, look pretty damn good doing so. But I still think Carolina is going to win. I think the rest of the East is going to be a bloodbath. And I think it kind of has to be because you've got to stay out of Florida, Tampa, Toronto. You've got to get out of that side of the bracket because, like, I mean, just kind of looking at the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, matchups against, let's say, New York and then Carolina looks a heck of a lot better than matchups against Florida and Tampa or Florida and Toronto or whoever. So, like, I think that it's going to be close down the stretch. And I think if you would ask me 5 days ago, I would have said the Caps just need to stay out of that with whatever wild card spot they get. But now I think you have a legitimate shot to sneak into the 2 or the 3 seed in the Metro, and then you're playing New York or you're playing Pittsburgh, and I mean at that point all bets are off. So it's going to be a tight race. If I had to guess, I would say the Caps still end up in the wild card spot right now, because I don't think they're going to go 7-0-1 forever for the rest of the year. But I mean, we'll see. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, that's fair. Who would you rather them face? Unless that's a question. I don't think it's a question. But who would you rather them face in the first round now? With their luck?
In terms of pure 5-on-5, I think the Rangers are the best matchup for them. I think that they, I think that obviously the Caps are a very physical team, and we haven't even reached a trade deadline yet. So they could be adding another piece that could really help them out. And I think the Caps are just a better skating team, and I think that I just think that they'd be a better fit against the Rangers. The problem is Igor Shesterkin is unreal. Right. He's inhuman. So no matter where the Capitals stand goaltending wise, like the crazy thing is, like, if you were to tell me, like, okay, in 48 hours, like, let's just go bonker world, like Marc-Andre Fleury is a Capital, like the Rangers still have the goaltending advantage if Fleury's in Washington. Like Shesterkin is unbelievable. So I think that the Rangers are I mean, I think you have to say the Rangers just on that, and you just hope that you can break him enough to try and break through. But I think the Rangers are the matchup you want, and I say that really, really not feeling great about it.
Yeah, I look at the Rangers, and I think the one team that they relate to the most is actually a team that they beat back in 2017. Was it 2016? It's 2017, the Montreal Canadiens in 2017, when it was basically Carey Price doing everything for them. It was Carey Price, and there was like some decent, like Radulov was pretty good. Shea Weber had just showed up, and he was pretty good. Like, it was a really good team, but it was obviously being carried by Carey Price. But then when they got to the playoffs, they played the New York Rangers, and that was the year where like Matt Zuccarello, it was a crazy series, but they won in 6. But yeah, they remind me a lot of that team. I mean, they might be better because I think Shesterkin's having a Hart caliber season, but they might be. But right. We'll see. All right, Jake, you're up, man.
Yeah, I thought it was EA.
I thought I was going to jump in.
I think it's Jay. Oh, I don't know. Oh, wait, it's Will. It's Will. Sorry, Will.
Yeah, I was going to actually, since you mentioned goaltenders, I was going to say, so I was very much of the we need a goalie. And if you just watched tonight, you would think the same thing. The thing is that Vitek Vanacek he's been elite over the past month or so. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's kind of weird for me to say, because I've never been super low on Vanacek, but I've never been super high on him. I've always thought he is a guy that you would be in love with to have as your number 2. And if he has to be your number 1, it's okay, but you wouldn't really think a contending team could have Vanacek as the starter, but he's been lights out. Amazing. Do you trust that going to the deadline? I mean, because if you think about this team and you're like, oh, we don't need a goalie, we have our number 1 in Vanacek, it really opens a lot of doors. So do you think this team should be looking at a goalie?
Yeah, I think you should. I think whether you should is a whole other discussion, because, I just mentioned Fleury. Like, if Fleury's available and wants to come to Washington, because obviously that's kind of been something that's been reported that he doesn't really know if he'd want to do that. If he's available and is willing and ready to come to Washington, I think you have to try and make that happen. And I don't want to make that sound like any negative thing against Vitek Vanacek or Ilya Samsonov, but Marc-Andre Fleury is Marc-Andre Fleury. I mean, you're talking about a Stanley Cup winning goaltender right there. So I would really look into him. But after him, like, is Semyon Varlamov worth the cost? You know, is adding, it doesn't sound like Braden Holtby is going to get moved. So Holtby's off the board. Like, I just don't think that the juice would be worth the squeeze. Now, if you're going to add a veteran backup, okay, I could get on board with that. If you're going to add somebody just to kind of give you some stability, help out your young goaltenders, maybe give you a spot start, spot relief appearance, whatever. I think that's the way you kind of have to roll with it. But as for whether or not you can trust Vanacek and kind of trust what he's done, I think you can. But I think you need to see a little bit more. The thing with Vanacek is that he's been very, very consistent all year. We've seen Ilya Samsonov. I point to this all the time. He was unreal against Pittsburgh to start in February. I believe it was the first of the month, in relief of Vanacek, actually, who left that game injured. And the next night, Samsonov's yanked in 5 minutes because he gave up 3 goals. So just that inconsistency has kind of led them to Vitek. And I think Vitek has played excellently, like you kind of mentioned. So you kind of need a goalie to stand on his head in spots. I think it's kind of a myth that you need a goalie to, be a .950 goalie for however long. I mean, Braden Holtby had the best save percentage in NHL playoff history and a losing record because the Caps in front of him couldn't score. And that was obviously before they won the Cup. So you need to produce in front of him, but I think Vitek, if you can't get Fleury, if you can't get somebody where you say, wow, we have to get that guy, Vitek's your number one going into the playoffs.
Yeah, to be fair, he didn't get his chance last year. He got injured.
Right, yeah. He got hurt early in that series, and then it was just, you played 3 goalies in 5 games. I mean, that's not what you want. I mean, I understand that it was out of necessity due to injury, and Craig Anderson, came in. I think it was body maintenance where he had to miss game 3, and Ilya Samsonov came in. Sammy played well, but I think you've got to give Vitek a shot. I think he's earned it, especially with his play over the last 2 or so months.
Yeah, definitely. He's, like Will said, he's definitely been playing like a solidified, number one guy over the last week or so. Hopefully he can keep that up. But who do you see winning the Hart and the Norris trophies this year? Obviously, for the Hart, there's a lot of people that are circulating right now. Obviously, we want our guy Ovechkin to be in the discussion, number one, because of his performance, and number two, because he's doing it as a 36-year-old. But, in an unbiased stance, there are people that are probably going to finish over Ovechkin. I personally, right now, if you end the season today, I think it's got to go to Shesterkin, just of how dominant he's been and how insanely good he's been compared to all the other goalies in the league, and how, he's like the best goalie statistical season since whatever the best one of all time is since then. But obviously there's other people in the discussion. Obviously there's McDavid. Obviously Matthews is in the talk now because he's leading the league in goals. Obviously Huberdeau and other people are in the talk. But if you had to guess, who do you think gets it?
If I had to guess, I would say, I guess my answer would be who should and who will are different. I'm kind of on the Igor Shesterkin train. I kind of fall in line with the most valuable aspect of the award. And I know this is a debate, whether it's, do you give it to the best player, the most valuable? I think it's going to go to a skater. It could go to Matthews, like you mentioned. It could go to McDavid. But Shesterkin, last I checked, he has like a 939 or something like that. Like, he's just you said it yourself. He is not only the best goalie in the league, he is so far and away better than
wide margin
the next level of goalies. And I look at the standings. Like, if you take Igor Shesterkin out of the Rangers lineup, out of the New York net, where are they? They're certainly
nowhere near what they're at now.
Right. So I think Shesterkin would be the guy that as of what is today, March 18th, I think he would be the guy that I would give that vote to.
Yeah, like you said, you probably know more about analytics than me, but
He's
and
insane.
other people have said it before, but like the Rangers like 5v5 are very average or below average at best, and if you take that goaltender out of that team, they're nowhere near as good as they are now. I know Will is big on
Exactly.
the most valuable argument, like he doesn't think Huberdeau or McDavid should get it because it's like
Wait. I
or
was
no,
literally
not
just
McDavid, not
okay.
McDavid. But you've said like for
Matthews.
you've said for Huberdeau or like Matthews, it's like you
Yeah.
take them off of that team, they're still going to be a playoff team. But if you take McDavid or Shesterkin off of their respective teams, they're going nowhere near what they are now. So
I
that
was
definitely
gonna
goes
kind of
into
chime
it.
in with the Connor argument. I think the Connor McDavid argument, that is. I think he's sort of getting a little bit of the LeBron treatment. I have not seen him mentioned in the Hart race. Edmonton is in a playoff spot right now. He has 87 points. Like, I think Shesterkin definitely probably should win it. I think he's as valuable to his team as anybody. But I mean, without McDavid, like the Oilers are a bottom 5, maybe bottom 8 team if they're peaking. So like Connor McDavid, a little bit of a LeBron James, I feel like, because he's right up there with anybody.
Yeah, that's a good.
You
I
don't
like
get
that
Braun
comparison.
comparisons until you start doing what LeBron's done. But I get your point. Jake.
Yes.
Oh wait. Who's your pick for the Norris?
I think I had to say Cale Makar. I mean,
Correct.
unreal.
All right,
Like,
Jake.
Okay, correct. All right, that's a plus. Like,
that's all we need to hear. You're right. You're right.
You just kind of see everybody waiting, and then as soon as you say an answer, that everybody nods
Yeah.
and goes, "All right,
Respect good." Nick Jensen.
Bro, give me some
you guys on the
Devontae's.
Jensen for Norris little Twitter bandwagon that was going on earlier in here.
I feel like I started that, man.
He started.
I was like, I was there when he was like actually bad. Like I started as a joke, and then obviously it's still a joke, but he's actually good now.
Yeah, I mean the Jensen Orlov pairing is legit. I mean, I think that's fantastic, and I think Dmitry Orlov kind of gets the Mike Green treatment a little bit, where everybody kind of looks at him and just says, "Oh, he turns the puck over too much." But together, I think he and Orlov, Jensen and Orlov, that is, are really damn good.
Who is someone that you either think the Caps will, or someone that you want the Caps to go after before the trade deadline?
Oh man, that is something that is it's hard to answer because I kind of mentioned Fleury. Like if you call Marc-Andre Fleury and say, last chance, what do you think? And he's all in. I think you have to try and make that happen. And we just sang Vitek Vanacek's praises, but Marc-Andre Fleury is Marc-Andre Fleury. And I think that is a guy that I would call. And if he doesn't want to, that's fine. If you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. That's kind of the way that I would take it. But I think forward, I think they're looking for a middle six forward. I think that could really kind of solidify the lines because, obviously TJ Oshie's out right now, and that's going to be something in a monitor. But, you look at the way that they've played over these last couple of weeks. The fourth line's set now with Janssen, Fialbi, Dowd, Hathaway, Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, Wilson, Mantha, Backstrom, Oshie, Sherry, Eller, McMichael. I don't know. I think you need somebody that can play in the middle, that can play center minutes too. I think I've heard Arturi Lehkonen as a guy that, like, Elliot Friedman's reported that they've kind of been in on him. The recent one I think would be really, really interesting is Max Domi, because that. I think it was Jeff Merrick reported that the Caps were. I mean, obviously, you don't know. This could literally be, Brian McClellan calls Columbus, Kekalainen, and says, "Hey, what do you think?" And then he says this. He said, "All right, well, thanks." Then he hangs up the phone, and that's it. But he made a call, so it's reported. So it could be very interested. It could be nothing. So I think that would be something, because even if Montreal retains and you want to bring in a goalie, you might have to move some salary out. So, we saw last year they're not afraid to do a major quote unquote hockey trade where Vrana goes, Mantha comes in. So I would like to
We won the
add
trade.
some player in the middle six, because I think that could really just kind of balance everything out. It could give you a more dependable option. And I think it could really just kind of, if you add a scorer to that third line, I really think this team could take that next step.
We're gonna trade McMichael. God damn it.
I don't think they're gonna do that. I genuinely do not think they're gonna do that.
Yeah, I think they're getting. I think the interesting thing when you relate to that trade is like the trade has honestly worked out well for both teams. Like Detroit's got a top flight scorer to pair with Larkin when they're good, and we got a guy who's bruising and perfect for right now. And he's like
Top
Mantha's
flight?
dude. Vrana's got a rocket, bro. He's an incredible scorer, and
Oh,
that's
my
what they
homies
need
hate
on the top
Vrana.
line.
Top
I'm
flight,
playing.
though?
Dude,
Top flight is like
listen,
your
He is a
Matthews
goal
or
scorer. He is a goal scorer.
He doesn't
He's a
need to
goal
be the
scorer,
top
but
player
top-
on there because Larkin's
Top
the
flight
leading
is like
scorer.
Ovechkin, Matthews, Draisaitl.
He's going to be a
Yeah,
40
you
goal
get what he
scorer
meant.
a couple of years in Detroit. Trust me. He's going to be a big.
No,
trust.
he's
gonna
not,
be-
but it's okay.
Yeah, he is. No, he's trust me. He's going to be a 40 goal scorer. I'm calling it. But I mean, I think the last question that's most important for you is obviously there is going to be only one team left standing at the end of the season with a cup in their hands. Do you have a pick for it right now? Do you want to risk making that pick and jinxing them, or do you want to shy away from that?
I'll make it. Why not?
Let's go.
What's life if you're not?
You didn't have a choice. I was gonna make
Yeah,
you
you were
make
going to
a
do it
pick.
anyways.
Yeah, The team that I am upset is playing so well is Calgary,
I'm not
because
upset
I think
about it.
Calgary's going to come out of the West. And I know, like, some people, I know everybody's kind of on Colorado, but Calgary is just one of those teams where you line up and you kind of match up against them and you go 7 games against this team is going to be a living hell. So I think Calgary's going to come out of the West. But I think Florida is going to win the cup. I think Florida is going to beat Calgary, and they're going to win the Stanley Cup, and rats are going to rain down from the sky in Sunrise, Florida. So that's what I'm going to go with right now.
The interesting thing about Calgary is like they were already good, but they're still making like moves to improve.
Right.
Like they just signed Yarn Crow and they signed Toffoli a week ago, so it's like they keep getting better, and that's
You
definitely
forget
scary.
they made both those moves this year. I forgot they got Tyler Toffoli till I
it was
played
literally like 2 weeks ago. It's
Yeah,
like
no,
they're-
Have you guys ever
they're
watched Tyler
actively getting
Toffoli
better.
It's a
skate?
long week, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
It's like comical watching Tyler Toffoli like
Well,
skate
the man,
on
like,
NHL
he's, like,
ice.
he tucks his shoulders. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah, and then his shot is just like lethal. It's hilarious.
amazing.
He's like a comical player.
It's like a yeah.
I'm
All right,
surprised you don't
well-
have Colorado out of the West.
Yeah, you don't. Colorado, even with the
Right.
trade for Manson.
Yeah, I just think that, look, Colorado's goaltending kind of scares me right now. I think that
You don't like Kemper?
not particularly.
He's gotten better.
Oh, dude, did
Yeah,
we see that?
like-
He's
Ekblad got
definitely
injured?
improved since the start of the year.
Right, and I mean, obviously, you look at what what Colorado's going to throw out in front of him, and it's horrifying. Like the speed, the talent that they have. I mean, Nazem Kadri is unreal right now. Like just everything that Colorado is in front of him. When you look at the way that the Stanley Cup playoffs are officiated, the way that the games are played, I just think Calgary is going to be a really, really tough out to take 4 from. Now that I say this, I mean, they're probably going to lose in 6 games in the first round. But I just think that Calgary is just, they're really, really good at creating shots in the high danger areas. They're really, really good at, kind of tilting the ice. And I just think they're a pain in the ass to deal with.
Yeah, I went and checked their goaltending stats real quick, and you want to know what Darcy Kemper's save percentage is?
It's not the best, right?
No, it's .923.
Probably really good.
Okay, then it's gotten better because
It's gotten a lot, and Francois is
It's better than I thought
0.9.
you were going to say.
Like he's
Francis.
actually got I thought he was 0.916 or 0.11. It's no, he's freaking Vezina caliber all of a sudden. It's shit.
Yes, I mean, because that
they
team
would
in
have
front of you. You can be an average goaltender and have that team in front of you, and your numbers are going to be great. But the Josh Manson trade is definitely interesting. I mean, I like Josh Manson just because he's a physical guy and he can go 2 ways. But I actually did see the other day, he's the second most he's got the second most penalties in the league on him, So I know that's definitely like an Achilles heel for him. So hopefully he can, for their sake, hopefully he can tone that down. But it is interesting.
They are up 3-0.
This
right now.
Ekblad injury looks bad. This actually
Oh,
would
is
mean a
he
lot
injured
for the play-
again?
Yeah,
God
Yeah,
damn
and
it.
this
not
would mean
great.
this would mean a lot for the playoffs. I mean, I was thinking if the Panthers get Giroux, it's over. But
Don't worry, they got Ben Sherratt. They'll be fine.
What
I mean,
happened
that
to
was
Ekblad?
that was insane. That trade was wild to me.
What
It
happened
looks-
to Ekblad?
Another
He's
leg
not able to
injury.
put his weight on his leg.
It wasn't as bad as
Well,
the one last year to get carted off, but it's not good because I think it's the same leg as last year, so it's possibly re-aggravated it.
I just hope it's a
Will,
sprain.
did you have a last question before we move on to the recent stuff or no?
Who do you think gets Claude Giroux? Colorado or Florida?
I'm definitely gonna be Florida now.
I heard
I
that he
think
said
it's
he wanted to go to Florida over Colorado.
I don't know. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I would.
I saw
would
something
guess
that said that
Florida.
Colorado offered more, but Giroux expressed that he'd rather go to Florida, and it said that like the offer like going towards Philly is like going to be underwhelming to their fans. So that would definitely suck if they don't get jack shit for losing their guy. But I don't want him to go to either of those teams. They're both already so good.
So I just want to say something real quick. So Andrew, you were hyping up the Calgary Flames right now. Do you want to know how they just lost the game to the Buffalo Sabres?
Oh, good. They lost.
Markstrom came out of the
Excellent.
net. He tried to play the puck in overtime, and Jake will show you. Watch the play. Just watch the goaltender. Watch what he does. He loses the
No
puck.
way.
Oh no! Imagine
No
blowing a
way.
shutout like that.
That's
All right,
The-
I changed my pick.
The Calgary Flames had an 85.4% chance to beat the Sabres, and they got shut out by the 62nd ranked goaltender of the NHL.
America's team.
America's
Buffalo
team,
Sabres.
baby. America's
All right.
team.
So everyone mute up. It's time for our Manscaped read. All right. So thank you for Manscaped for sponsoring this episode like always. But can I get a round of applause, everybody?
No.
Today, I'm excited to announce that Manscaped has launched their Ultra Premium Collection. Believe it or not, it's for your not-so-private parts. I'm talking about a leveled-up hygiene routine with your favorite manly scent. This is an all-in-one skin and hair care kit for the everyday man and covers you from head to toe. Manscaped is trusted below the waist. Now it's time to trust them with the rest. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code PHP. Again, if you go to manscaped.com and use code PHP, that's 20% off and free shipping. Thank you, Manscaped.
Hell yeah.
So, recent results for the Caps. On Tuesday, we beat the Islanders in a shootout 4-3. Then on Thursday, we kicked the absolute shit out of the Blue Jackets in a 7-2 blowout win. And then tonight, we beat the Canes in a shootout with yours truly, Alex Ovechkin. Not yours truly, because I'm not Alex Ovechkin, but your Alex Ovechkin scored the shootout winner. And it's actually funny because as he was getting ready to take his shootout attempt, I was not happy because he is not exactly the best shootout shooter, but he proved me wrong tonight. So thank you, Alex Ovechkin, for that. The Caps are on an absolute roll right now. But yeah, so Andrew, this is a thing that we do called 1-on-1. Basically, the five of us go around and each take our pick at one player who impressed us over the past stretch of games, you know, the last three from this week in this situation, and then one player who has underwhelmed us and we are not happy with. So I'll give you first pick since you're the guest. There's a few good options to
I'm
take for
excited.
happy right now because we're doing so well, but who's someone that has made you happy this week?
Oh man, wow.
You got a whole
Someone-
variety of picks.
I know.
Pick Adam.
I'll go. You know what? I'll leave the big guy to somebody else. I'm gonna say Connor McMichael. He has stepped in at third line center since Lars Eller is on the COVID list. I like one of you guys mentioned it earlier before. I mean, he's just a guy who has not found the back of the net, but he's been right there. And I think it's abundantly clear when you watch him play that he has unreal talent. And he just, to me, he needs basically an off season of whatever they give SEC and Big Ten football players. You just make him gain 20 pounds in an off season or whatever, and you just have him come back, and he's going to be good. So I think he's been really impressive, even if maybe the stat sheet doesn't show it. I think he's been really, really good.
That definitely isn't who I was going to pick. So thanks for giving all of us our
You're welcome.
picks.
That's what I'm here for.
I'm going to go next.
Wait, who's your pick on who
sorry.
hasn't made you happy?
After Joey, I do
Right.
kind of
Man, see, that's
I
a
know who
tough one
Will's
because
gonna
they're
say.
7-0-1 in their last 8 games. Someone who has not made.
I'll give you a what's the word? I'll give you a bone. You can, instead of saying a player, if you can't think of a player, and this goes for everyone, we can say what's something like about the team, like something that we're doing that hasn't been good. Like you could say like right now the power play has been pretty good, but like 2 weeks ago you could say like, okay, the power play.
No, I'll give a player. I think I would like to see more out of Marty Farivari, and I know I kind of sang his praises a little bit earlier when we were having the discussion about kind of his underlying numbers, but when you think back to when this Caps team won the Cup, it was Orlov Niskanen that was the number one pairing, but Michael Kempney, John Carlson was that really, really good second pair. And I think if you're going to go on a run in the playoffs, you need Farivari to play at a level that, if not at a top line level, you need him to play at a level that is commensurate with like a 1B or a high end second pairing with Carlson. So I think that if you get more out of Farivari, I think that this defensive core is just going to look so much different.
Wonderful.
Fair.
That's a crazy thing. All right.
Joey,
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in case you missed Capitals hockey this week, Alex Ovechkin is now only behind Gordie Howe, who played in 5 decades, and Wayne Gretzky, who played when goaltending didn't exist. He is third all time in scoring goals in the NHL, one of the hardest stats to get in all of sports. He is third in all time, and it was an absolutely perfect goal too, because it was a clean off the draw, like our man Joe B has been hoping for all his milestones, as he said on our show, on our podcast, and it was a beautiful goal, and he's obviously my player of the week. The dude is back to carrying this team through thick and thin, scoring goals, absolutely destroying people, scoring shootout goals again like he's 20. He decimated the Carolina Hurricanes tonight. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, yeah, he's definitely my player of the week. I love Ovechkin so much. I will be going to see him on Sunday with a cowboy hat and a cool-ass jersey, and I will be hoping for a hat trick so I can toss that shit on the ice and see him wear it. As for my thing or player that I thought didn't play well, like I said, everybody kind of played well this week. I'm not going to lie. I don't think there was any outliers. I think, like Andrew said, I think I would love Farivari to just play just a smidge better analytically wise, but for what he's been doing, he's been playing very well. If I had to pick something to get better, I definitely still think the penalty kill just needs a little bit more of an improvement. The power play has all of a sudden decided to not suck, which is great news, but the penalty kill has sort of kind of taken that step back. Now, I'm pretty sure that's because of our amazing, blessed child, Carl Hagelin, is out for the rest of the season, most likely. Also, I hope he's okay, because he got injured in the eye, and those are always fucking brutal, and I really hope he's okay, because he's a good person. But I think if AJF eventually settles into the role, Kuznetsov gets more time, it will get better, but I think the penalty kill just needs just like a tiny bit more of improvement, and then we'll be straight. But Will, why don't you go ahead and shoot your best and worst?
So I'm going to have to run after this again. Sorry, kind of like a squeeze in, squeeze out sort of situation. Thanks for coming on, though. Okay, obviously, I have to say Anthony Mantha.
Damn it!
That's the obvious pick. Anthony Mantha is the best player in the NHL. I can't think of a close second. He is Serena Williams to hockey. He's your first overall pick, best player in the league. Unironically, though, I mean, the dude has just turned the team around and been a huge part of it. I mean, he's got like 5 goals in his past, or 4 goals in his past 5 or 6 or something. He's got a wicked release. He is physical. I mean, he was going after the Canes today. I love to see it. I hate that team. And he's been responsible defensively. I mean, he is the perfect top 6 forward. If you were to mold a top 6 forward that isn't a superstar in a lab, you would make Anthony Mantha. I love this dude. He is my player.
But I thought we lost the trade.
I never said that.
No, I'm saying
all right,
the mass population.
Who didn't impress me? Carolina, you didn't impress me. Your fans know nothing about hockey, and it annoys me. Your stadium was filled with Capitals fans, and while booing Alexander Ovechkin, you went to a backhand and roofed your team down a point. You don't impress me. I don't care if you're first in the Metro. You will forever be our little brother. You celebrate a playoff win where you got swept by Boston to go to the Stanley Cup final. You don't impress me, and you never will. I hate the Carolina Hurricanes. That's good night for me.
Spitting
There
out
we
here.
go. All right, good night.
That's our title for tonight. Home game in Raleigh, because
Home
we were
game
in
in
Raleigh,
Raleigh,
but
yeah.
it was
There
basically
was a
home
surprise
game.
amount of Cap. That's the most of Caps fans that have been.
I'm not
time.
I'm not taking other alternate options. The title will be home game in Raleigh. But see, I was definitely gonna say Mantha or Ovechkin as my picks. And I mean, Jake, you can go. I'll let you go.
Jake deserves to go.
I don't want to.
No,
that guy
actually, I'm
always.
really happy because this is like a week where like no one could take
Everyone's
someone's pick. 'Cause
good.
someone play. Yeah, I'm gonna say Orlov though.
That was one of mine.
Yeah, Orlov, dude, his shift he had on an OT
He was
today
phenomenal
was
tonight.
ridiculous.
Rad.
He was phenomenal today, but he's been playing so well recently too. That's and then someone who hasn't played well, Van Riemsdyk, he's just kind of there.
Well, who's the defenseman who hasn't done anything like Van Riemsdyk? Get
Van
him.
Riemsdyk. I mean, he had like 1 point in the Columbus game, and we scored 7 goals. You know, he
Everybody
should
had a
do a
point
little
in
bit more
that
than that.
Everybody had a point in that game.
1 point, but he has 0. He had 1 in the last 3 games.
All right,
we've
yeah,
had,
why don't
so.
you take us out?
So to finish things off, my pick, I'm gonna have to say Vitek Vanacek. It's pretty obvious. I mean, at the moment, he's solidified himself as the number 1 guy. I really hope he can maintain this level of play that he's been, so far the past month. Not impressed with, I'm going to say Samsonov, just because he's been, labeled as the number 1 guy so many times and been labeled as the more skilled guy and the guy with more potential and a higher ceiling. But Vitek keeps crawling back. So unless you want to go somewhere else or you just want to be a backup, I suggest you step it up a notch because Vitek is on your ass. That's it for me. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome. This week we have so many choices and people to choose from for the good player of the week. Obviously, Ovechkin taking 3rd overall. Career goals, phenomenal. Vitek's been phenomenal. Mantha's been the spark that has brought this team back into light. That's awesome. Orlov had the shift of his fucking life in overtime today. I'm pretty happy with everybody. AJF is doing well. I'm just a happy guy right now.
Yeah, I can't wait to collapse in April again, boys. So excited. It's gonna happen. We're setting it up for it.
Best week in Caps. Caps.
No, this hands down has probably been the best they've looked as a team since the President's Trophy.
This is the first time no one's taken my pick. It's been great,
bro.
That's all I care about. I'm sorry. It's a first. This is my Stanley Cup.
Well, Andrew, thank you for coming on today. We really appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck in the rest of the season. I know you're a busy guy, so hopefully that doesn't get too hard. Actually, no, I hope it gets really busy because we're going to be making a deep-ass playoff run and winning the cup. So I hope your life becomes miserable.
I hope you get stressed.
I hope you have a stressful ass rest of the year because you're so back.
You're hopeful that you're calling me in June, going, "Let's run this thing back. Let's do another."
We need a cup.
I want to have you back when we win the cup to shit on your take for the Panthers and the Flames just because you were wrong.
Panthers over the Flames. I hear that. If that happens, I will be happy to come back and take whatever grief you guys want to give me.
Well, thank you everyone for listening today. Have a good night. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
God bless. Peace out.
All right, my